Hi everyone, I'm Mickey on the Daily. Thanks for tuning in to another Spur of the Moment. Today I am interviewing Mickey Beyer-Clausen of Timeshifter. Hey Mickey, thanks
Hi,
for
Nicole.
joining. It's Mickey and Mickey today.
Yes, it is.
So I'm really interested in your app because it's attainable to most people. Tell me about Timeshifter.
Yeah, Timeshifter is a jet lag app. So you're absolutely right. Lots of people travel. When you travel for more than 3 time zones or more, you typically struggle with jet lag.
Right.
So this app is helping you reduce that dramatically.
Okay, and with all the ways that people are now getting recommended to reduce jet lag, what makes Timeshifter different?
So this is a really interesting question because most of us have read articles about how to reduce jet lag. You know, 5 tips for reducing jet lag, or and we hear about food. Right now there's something going on with, you know, an advice about fasting for 16 hours, and that's supposedly going to help you. But
Wait,
what's
I'm sorry, fasting for how long?
16 hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
good luck with that. But on top of the fact that, you know, you have to fast for 16 hours,
Right.
there's no real evidence that this is working. And that's kind of my answer to you is that with all the advice we get out there, most of it is generic, oversimplistic, doesn't work, and might even make it worse. There is no generic advice that's going to help you. It's all a matter of a personalized approach to jet lag.
Right.
You need to know things about you, and you need to know about your trip. And only then can you provide, you know, real advice that's going to help you.
Of course, because if I'm traveling to California, that's different than someone necessarily traveling to, let's say, Tokyo.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes you fly east, sometimes west. Even the time of day you travel is going to change the advice we give you.
Incredible. So what sort of science do you have backing it? Because from my understanding, the way it came about is quite interesting.
Yes, no, it really is. So my co-founders, Tony Hanna and Jacob Brown, and I, we always on lookout for, you know, any science-based innovations that can make a difference in people's lives. And about 1.5 years, almost 2 years ago, we bumped into Dr. Stephen Lockley, who's a professor at Harvard Medical School. And he's also one of the leading experts in the area of sleep and circadian neuroscience. So really impressive guy. And when he started talking about how the science could help tackle the underlying cause of jet lag, you know, he had our attention right away. We got really excited about that because, of course, most of the tips we're going to hear out there that are oversimplistic and doesn't really work are trying to address the symptoms. Here we're talking about attacking the underlying cause of jet lag.
Which is what?
And so the underlying cause, it sits up here in the brain in something that's called the hypothalamus part of the brain. It's the circadian clock. It's the master clock of your body. So human evolution, blah, 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 you know, you have 24 hours in a day, which we know, and at night it's dark, and in the day it's light, it's bright.
Right.
And so this circadian clock is used to that rhythm. And in fact, it's very important, you know, it likes consistency. So if you go to bed at the same time every day, if you wake up at the same time every day, the circadian clock is going to love you. It's the best you can do. But with jet lag, like what really happens is you travel to a completely different place on the planet with a different dark light cycle, a different schedule.
And it can be as far as north and south. It doesn't have to be east and west.
Well, yeah, it actually does need to go east or west. It has to. You need to move 3 or more time zones essentially away from where you're at,
But
either
with
east
the
or
app,
west.
I'm thinking, so for example, like the app, someone going to California, same time zone maybe as like something, or where Alaska is, where it doesn't get that much sunlight. Where
Right,
there's too much
but
sunlight.
that's actually a good point. But in this case, it is really east or west.
Got it.
But what's interesting about jet lag is when you travel, you know, east or west for a number of time zones.
Right.
You know, you change the schedule. And this clock up here doesn't like that. It gets disrupted and it gets upset. And what you really want is to adjust it to the new time zone as quickly as possible. And what surprised me, and I think is surprising to many people, is that the key cue for the circadian clock up here is light exposure.
Okay.
So it has little to do with food. It might have some impact, but little to do with food, little to do with exercise. it's really about light exposure. And so there are certain times during the day where if you avoid light or you get exposed to bright light, you can impact and adjust it faster towards the time zone that you arrived at. And so that's number one, but there's also the opportunity to use melatonin.
Okay.
So you don't have to, it's
Right.
an option. But what's interesting about melatonin, it's a hormone in your body, and your body produces it when it's dark. So at night, when you turn off the lights, melatonin is produced, helps you fall asleep. It's not a sleep aid.
Right. It's a natural producer.
Yeah, it is. But you can buy it in the US, you can buy it over the counter,
Right.
and it's sort of considered a supplement.
So how does Timeshifter treat the individual with all these different things that are going on in the brain and the body?
So in the app, when you enter information about yourself, including the sleep pattern, your personal sleep pattern, your chronotype, are you a morning person or an evening, a night owl? And then you put in your trip information.
Right.
So, your whole itinerary essentially. When you leave, where you're going, do you have any stopovers?
So it's very personalized.
Oh yeah.
So
like the same. So your profile with your
Right.
sleep pattern, your chronotype, even the same destination. If you move it 3 hours, like the departure time,
Right.
it's a different plan.
Oh, so even if, let's say, well, let's face it, most flights at JFK are delayed.
Right.
If there's a flight delay at JFK,
Yep.
then I input that information, it switches things up.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just to have a real world standpoint. I'm going to Australia, which is a completely different time zone,
Yeah.
in January.
Yeah.
What sort of information would apply that to me? I'm going to January. I'm going to Australia. How would I input that information, and what would happen?
If it's okay, I'd almost like to take an example that a trip I go on all the time, because it's easier for me to explain that, because how that has been a problem for me in the past, and now how easy it is to go there. So I live in New York, and I go often back to where I come from originally, which is Denmark. And it's 6 hours time zone difference. It's east, which tend to be the most difficult when it comes to jet lag. Going west is a little bit easier. But going east is a real problem. And so normally I'd come out in the airport, I'd take a flight at 11 o'clock at night, and I arrive at 12:30 in the afternoon in Denmark the day after.
Right.
Normally I'd go out in the airport, there's bright light out in the airport, I'd go out there, hang out for a couple of hours, and then when I get into the plane, I'd enjoy the meal service, right, for 2.5 hours, and then they shut off the light, and then I start sleeping as long as I can.
Right.
Hopefully they won't wake me up before I arrive in Denmark, which is about 12:30 in the afternoon. But 12:30 in the afternoon is not a good time to wake up when you're in Denmark, right? the Danes have already been up for 5 hours.
Right.
So it's really not very helpful to sleep in that long. So what I do now, which is what the app recommends me, is to wear sunglasses in the airport when I get to the airport.
Okay.
So I avoid light, I avoid the bright light, melatonin is produced, I get tired, I go into the plane, sleep mask on right away, don't engage with the meal service at all, don't eat anything, I eat in the airport with my sunglasses on.
Oh, because the app recommended that you do that.
That's right.
Fantastic.
And then I wake myself up 3 hours before I arrive, which is closer to when the Danes wake up in Denmark. And that's what the app tells me to do. And that way I don't have the problem I used to, which is it was very difficult for me to wake up in the morning when I arrived there. And also the second night I'd always wake up at 2 a.m. and couldn't fall back asleep for 3 hours.
Well, jet lag, it really is something that aids us all. If anyone gets on a plane, essentially, if you're going to California or any other place, you're dealing with that.
Right.
So give me an example, since it is very personalized. When did you come up with it, and how much does it cost for a user?
So the app just launched about a month ago. So it's very exciting. The algorithm behind it has been used for many years.
Right.
It's been used by astronauts. It's been used by Formula One drivers. It's been used by a whole bunch of elite athletes because it's so important that they can perform well when they arrive.
Incredible.
And so this is really an app that's very beneficial for business travelers, sports athletes, sports teams, as well as people just going on vacation and want to get the most out of it.
Incredible.
And so the app costs $25 a year for an unlimited subscription.
That's incredible for business travelers or just anyone. That's a real benefit.
Right. Or you can just do $10 for one plan. So if you don't travel often, You know, you don't have to pay for a subscription.
Well, let's face it, we're out in the Hamptons. Most people are traveling anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
So so you just launched last month, and how long have you been a Spur member?
Since the very beginning.
So you've been here the whole time.
Yes.
Real innovation comes right here.
No, it's great. It's helped me a lot. I don't. My colleagues are spread all over the place, including in Copenhagen and in Boston and other places. So for me to have a place with other people that I can work with is great.
That's incredible. And I know the app is also, you've also partnered with Under Armour and Six Senses.
Yep, Six Senses resorts globally. So whenever somebody buys a stay with Six Senses resorts out in Asia or in Europe, and they're coming more and more to the States or in this area, they get a free jet lag plan to go with their trip, so they can get the maximum out of it.
So you've already gone global.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Both digitally and entrepreneurially.
Yes.
Is that a word? I think I just made one up.
Yes.
But,
no, it's really exciting, and we also did a partnership a couple of weeks ago with Amadeus, which is the big software company underlying most of the airlines and travel agencies in the world. So it's very exciting. It'll give us some great opportunities going forward to integrate with airlines and travel agencies, and to leverage some of the data and trip and flight data and all that stuff that they have.
I mean, I see this. This is something that everyone needs. And if
Yes.
if you own a passport, or you even own a driver's license, and you
subscribe to Timeshifter
subscribe to Timeshifter today, because
today.
Well, I know I'm getting it by January at the very
Good.
latest.
You should.
Well, Mickey, thank you so much for being a member. We're so glad to have innovation like yours here at the Spur.
Thank you, Nicole.
I'm Nikki on the Daily with Mickey Beyer-Clausen of Timeshifter. Go download the app today. I know I will. Thanks for tuning in to Spur of the Moment.